Good morning. Welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show radio to open the heart, heal the soul, awaken the consciousness, Mr. Benny. It's a week.
There.
Thank you. I loved it.
Yes, we're getting down to it, huh?
I know it. It's the countdown. How are you doing?
I still think I'm nice. I haven't gotten to the naughty side yet. I think I'm doing okay. I don't know. You could ask a few other people in the family and they'd be like, well, let's not go there. But could be different.
I love that. I think I'm nice. You know,
I mean, everyone thinks they are. Sure.
Sure. I'm laughing. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday. I said, it's really okay if you're not nice all the time. She goes, what?
A big lump of coal waiting for you.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, I'm excited. It's interesting the way that Christmas falls in the middle of the week, and then there's Boxing Day, right? And there's all the holidays, and then New Year's is also right in the middle of the week. And so people have been asking me, they're like, are you working next week, Loretta? What are you doing?
It's nonstop, right? I'm sure it's nonstop.
It is. Yeah. Especially this time of year. And there's lots of good things going on. So I hope everybody's getting festive in the holiday spirit and keep smiling no matter what's going on out there. That's what I got to say.
Yep. Because one smile shares all, right?
Yes.
I mean, so to speak.
It's contagious.
That too.
Yeah, it can be contagious. Although if you've ever been around people that are too happy and you're not feeling happy, you're like, why are you so happy?
Because I can.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm the owner of Reiki Oasis, located right here in the greater Seattle area. And I've got some timely things coming up. So you can sign up for things at schedule.reikioasis.com. This coming Saturday, the day after tomorrow, is the winter solstice. And I have my monthly class, the Temple of the Divine Feminine. We're going to have a solstice celebration. You can join me in person or via Zoom. So please check that out. And then also the big event, everybody waits all year for it. Thursday, December 26th, 7 p.m. in the evening is my end of the year ceremony, welcoming in the new year. It is in despacho, an ancient Peruvian shamanic ceremony, also known as a prayer bundle. And I do have in-person seating. It is very limited, and you can also join via Zoom. So you will be, if you go sign up for that, you're going to be looking for despacho prayer bundle, end of the year. And make sure that if you're coming in person, you select the correct link. If you're attending via Zoom, it is a different link so that I can kind of keep it straight in my head as to what's going on. I do hope you will come. I've done this ceremony for years, and it really clears out the energies of the old year. So if you're done with 2024, like big time, you might want to come. And if you really, really, really want to set those intentions for 2025, you might want to participate. So I hope you'll do that. And then
be alive in 2025. That's how I'm seeing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. We got to take charge at 2025, or it's going to take charge of us. That's what I got to say. So the stars are aligning this week, bringing powerful cosmic energies, heart-centered connections, and a sense of transformation as we journey through the winter solstice, a galactic alignment, one of my favorites, and the joy of Christmas. So today, December 19, we have Venus trine Jupiter, and this is one of the most fortunate alignments of the year. I'm so thrilled my guest is with me on this fortuitous day. Venus, the planet of love and creativity, harmonizes with expansive Jupiter, radiating joy, abundance, and good fortune. Today is perfect for expressing your creative gifts, connecting with loved ones, or treating yourself to something special. So shine your light and embrace the blessings the alignment offers, and opportunities may appear where you least expect them today. I love those kinds of good surprises. Saturday, December 21, the winter solstice, and the sun enters Capricorn. The winter solstice marks a sacred turning point, the longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and the beginning of Capricorn season. It's a time of reflection and renewal, as we honor the cycles of nature and the light that begins its return. So we're going to have longer days. I'm so glad. Oh, it's so dark up here by 4 p.m. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Capricorn energy inspires ambition, perseverance, and practicality, giving you the grounding you need. It's an earth sign to plan for the year ahead.
You are welcome.
Yes, thank you, my Capricornian
You're welcome.
friend.
That's why I'm here.
Yes, your birthday's coming up.
Yes, it is.
I know.
The grounding force of a Capricorn.
Oh, I love it because I'm a crazy Aries.
Oh, not crazy.
My moon is in Capricorn. It's my saving grace. Thank you, Capricornians. Yeah. Woohoo. Yeah. I love it. 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 So anyway, take a moment, honor your achievements and the gifts that you bring to the world. You are a part of the great cosmic rhythm, Mr. Benny Mathers. Yep. So celebrate, everybody, the return of the light and longer days. And then December 18 through 20, during this time, we have a galactic 0-point alignment. The sun's alignment with the galactic center at 27 degrees Sagittarius opens an extraordinary portal of energy known as the 0-point reset. High frequency plasma waves, crystalline solar codes are being transmitted from the galactic core through our sun, sparking profound activations within our DNA. Even while we're sitting here talking, it's happening. You don't need to believe in it. It doesn't care if you believe in it. It's doing it anyway. This alignment invites us to release old patterns, dismantle outdated structures, and step into accelerated timelines of ascension. So as we move through this 0-point gateway, let go of anything that no longer serves your highest path. And this is an invitation. It's a powerful invitation right now because there's a whole lot of other things going on in the sky, but it's inviting you to consciously align with your soul's purpose and call in the higher frequencies of love, unity, and transformation. And December 25th, of course, for those that celebrate Christmas, it is the Christmas holidays. And Christmas arrives under the steady grounding energy of Capricorn, reminding us to treasure the moments of connection, tradition, and love. The cosmic themes of renewal and light returning, the birth of the sun, the nurturing of the mother, the divine mothers like the Mother Mary, echo beautifully with the spirit of this holiday. And whether you're surrounded by family, enjoying a quiet moment, or reflecting on the year's journey, this is the time to celebrate the gift of life and the divine spark within us all. And be sure to light up your Christmas tree, light up your lights, light a candle, laugh, and be sure also to take a moment for your own self and put your hand on your heart and send yourself love. I think sometimes we need to just take that moment. And I wish everybody a beautiful, beautiful week, a wonderful solstice, a magical Christmas, and a radiant journey through the last part of this year. And on that beautiful, beautiful cosmic waves of wonderfulness, Venus and Jupiter, I'm bringing in my guest, Theresa Bruno. She's a visionary entrepreneur, an artist, and host of the Soul Talks podcast. From the heights of designing fine jewelry for icons like Michelle Obama, Oprah, and Julia Roberts, to experiencing life-shattering losses, Theresa's journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the heart of a woman. After her husband's tragic suicide and the collapse of her beloved jewelry brand, Theresa turned her grief into hope, creating the Soul Talks podcast, a podcast that explores healing, gratitude, and connection. So please join us. We're going to dive into an excellent, delicious, heartfelt conversation of rebirth, pain, transformation. And actually, it's just two girls talking over their morning coffee. Welcome to the show, Theresa, from my heart to yours.
Thank you. And what an amazing introduction and all that good stuff you're pouring into us. And I will definitely join you via Zoom on the 26th.
Please do. That would be so lovely. That'd be
I
lovely.
just, I just want to say thank you because for everything that you just said, but as you were speaking and telling us what's happening, that's going on in the universe and in the cosmos, and just the words that you're giving us about amazing clearings and moving our energy, and I feel it happening to me, so I'm sure your audience feels it as well. And I just want to thank you for all the good you put into the world
Thank you.
for us. So
You're
I'm just
welcome.
honored to sit and chat with you this morning.
Thank you. I always am so happy just to give it and to have it received. So thank you very much. I talk to people all the time about the development of their gifts or shining their light into the world.
Yep.
Like, don't be afraid to do it because we're all afraid.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to share this because it's Christmas cookie time. But I am the 7th of 8 children and was raised
Oh,
in a big
wow.
family. And when people came to visit, it's old school. You fed them and gave them something to drink. And my mom always had chocolate chip Toll House cookies. You know those
Oh,
things,
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, made with butter and flour,
I want some right now.
sugar. We didn't have any of this stuff, right? But she used to just say, Loretta, go just put a bunch of cookies on a plate and go pass them out. And if people don't take them, that's fine. And if they do take them, that's fine. And I've used the same analogy when you bring your spiritual gifts to the world. They're just cookies on a plate. Stop getting so wrapped up about it.
Yeah.
And it's lovely when they take them and eat them. You're like, yes.
Yeah, it is lovely, but you're right. You can't force that, and
Yeah.
and I think, our gifts are there for others. And if they're aligned and open, they're there for them. But the same work, works in reverse of when we need to receive, the universe shows up. You put
Yeah.
it out there, the universe shows up and I get one of your cookies.
Yes,
Right?
that's exactly right. And we find that sense of fulfillment and purpose also because our heart feels happy. Like
Yeah.
I connected, I shared, I loved, I gave, I received, I was seen, I was validated, all of these lovely aspects. So, Theresa, I want my audience to know you a little better. And boy, do you have a journey. You've got a journey. Um, I wanna back up just a little bit. I absolutely want to get to, pain, the trauma, as well
Yeah.
as the victory, but I wanna back up a little bit. I wanna go back to your childhood. I
Okay.
know in there somewhere that you were going to be a concert pianist,
I was.
and something derailed you,
Yeah.
and, I am going to say this, and then I'm gonna let you take it away. As a little girl, the piano saved my life.
Mine too.
I started playing the piano when I was 3 because I didn't have a voice. Yeah, yeah.
You couldn't talk?
Mm-mm. Now look at me.
Wow. So
Uh-huh.
the music helped you find your
It
voice?
was the music, yeah, and I'm also a sound practitioner. So, I would love for you I want you to go back, I want you to talk about the piano, I want you to talk about what happened
Yeah, I
that
will.
yeah, and
I
so take it away.
and
I'll be quiet.
no, no, please don't be quiet. I enjoy being interrupted. Um, you know,
Mm,
it's kind of hard place to start. I did not come from a happy home. It was truly an unhappy home in all kinds of ways. And I've often looked back on it and I've thought, because in the early years of learning to play the piano and being successful fast and winning competitions and all those kinds of things, people would say, well, you're a prodigy, you're prodigious at this. And as I got older and more awake spiritually, I could look back and see, I'd ask myself the question, was I really that gifted, or was that the gift of God in the universe to me? Because like you, I turned to music. I could hear it in my head. And strangely, my parents were rock and rollers. They had never even heard of classical music. That was not what was going on in our house. But I only heard classical music in my child's head and taught myself to play. The first thing I played was a Beethoven piece. Strangely, it was playing in the car of the Uber that I took home from the airport 2 days ago. But I've asked myself the question, as I've become so much more awake spiritually and was I really truly that gifted, or did the gift come, and I just poured my entire life into it. I was one of those kids, and I started playing late for somebody who wanted a career in it. I taught myself to play in the midst of my mother having a horrible nervous breakdown, being institutionalized for a year, my parents divorcing, and I taught myself to play. Well, you can see that it became my escape. And I immediately became quite good. By the time I was 9, and I rolled through some wonderful teachers. My first teacher was the pastor of our church, the pastor's wife at our church. And she taught me for a few months and then said, I can't teach her anymore. And then, we rolled to the other one, and I studied with her about a year. And she said, I can't teach her anymore. And, so then we found somebody who could give me, a real path to, um, competitions, to how do you get in the really good schools, how do you have performance chances, all that sort of thing. So that was my life from the time I was 8 until graduate school. And I was able to study with just some of the most amazing people, and that was another gift of the music. Not only, I think, did the music heal all the yuck that was inside my child's heart, and I could play out the pain, and I could turn it into beauty. I remember very early on being backstage, and I was nervous. I was about to play something I'd never played before, and I didn't usually have a lot of stage fright, but this time I did. And my teacher at the time, I said, I'm just so nervous. This is such a big, that kind of thing. And she said, well, hold on a minute. This is really not about you. And this is not about how you play and how great you are. This is the fact that you play so beautifully, and you're going to give that audience a gift that they haven't heard before. It's a Rachmaninoff piece, and it turned it all around for me. So I got out on that stage and I went, oh, this is a service. This is my way of giving to the world. It's no longer about, am I good or am I not good? So I had amazing teachers. They were gifts. They validated me in the ways that I had not been validated at home. And I had men and women teachers all along the path.
Mhm.
And I can't say I ever had a bad one. Honestly, those people shaped me more than, I just wouldn't be who I am today without those teachers. I had made it to a really good school and was studying with an amazing teacher, and I was on the path to everything I'd worked for since I was little, and was practicing a Chopin ballade one day, and just tremendous pain in my left hand, and I hadn't had any problems. It would just happened in the moment, and my wrist completely froze. It wouldn't move at all. Um, Over the course of the year, I had to drop out of graduate school. My hand was mobilized for a year. Then there was surgery. Had to take out a piece of the wrist bone. So of course that
Mm,
concert career
mm,
went away.
mm.
So that's kind of the arc of.
I want to ask you, do you play now?
I
You have a
do.
piano now. Good.
I, I do.
So,
I can't play. I'm not a very big woman, and I don't have big hands, but I was very attracted to a romantic repertoire that was pretty big. And I was also kind of aggressive about wanting to play all the things the guys played and not be told I could only play Mozart. So I went after a bigger repertoire, and I can't play those huge pieces anymore, but I have learned to be really happy with what I am still able to play.
I'm glad to hear that. One of the things that I'm thinking about while you're talking is, for you and I and for the people listening, that you had this idea of the path you were gonna go, and it didn't go that way. And, when that happens, you had to figure out something else to do.
Right.
And did you really process the great disappointment of that?
Not
Yeah,
at
because
all.
it doesn't sound like you did. Yeah.
Not then.
Okay.
You have to ultimately process it. But I was 24, and I had to figure out how to live. I was no longer going to be paid by, Columbia artists to make recordings and to go on tour. That was, so I had to just completely sort of rewrite my story. I got into the marketing business and opened my own marketing firm by the time I was 29. Very creative business. I did the creative side of it, filmmaking, and I was creative director of another firm and then created my own firm, which I had for 17 years. So it was very creative business. It wasn't as soulful as playing. It didn't, encompass all of me in the way that the piano had, but I did go forward. It took me a couple years to figure out, of testing some things. I taught for a while at a university, realized I was really a crap teacher. It's awful.
Good to know.
Yeah, I don't think you want your kid or your college kid studying with me, because right now I'm just really pissed off at the world and I don't want to teach them to play. But I just wasn't, honestly, I wasn't a good teacher.
So
But
I would, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to
No.
jump forward a little bit. I
Sure.
want to go to, because I kind of have this set up in little sections, right? As you
Okay.
can imagine, because your life shows up that way. Like
Yes,
here's
it
a
does.
chapter, and then,
Yep.
or here's the first book of the trilogy or whatever, and then here's the second one. And then I feel like I'm watching a movie with you, right? Like a Netflix series or something. You could be that. And I love it. But I want to jump forward to your jewelry business. You
Sure.
had an amazing jewelry brand, right?
I did.
And how did that come about? This is a really interesting part.
I want to end just 1 minute that
Yes,
when you said,
yes,
how did you process what happened to you?
yes,
I kept in touch with everything artistic and musical my whole life, and even started an arts education program through a university for the haves and the have-nots, because often the arts are denied to those who aren't able to pay for it. So my life has always been in touch with it. The thing that I did realize, though, Loretta, that I felt was a gift, such a gift from God and the universe, was that what I didn't realize in all the years of my youth, practicing at the time I was in graduate school, I was practicing 10 hours a day. If I had gone on with that career, I would not have probably married. I probably would not have had children. It's a very isolating, singular career. And the best thing I've ever done is be a mother. That's the
yeah.
greatest joy of my life. So I think I had I got the gift of music to get me through an abusive childhood. I got the gift of music to share it with others and show that it can truly be transformational. But it was time for me to move on to something else. The jewelry business started because
I want to. We are just chatting, and I was like, I want to ask you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you have a spiritual belief? Are you
absolutely
religious? You believe in God? You just believe what? Because
all
I really don't know how we go through these things if we don't have a higher
I would
connection.
agree with you. I grew up in a home that there was a Christian faith belief, but it was really messy.
Yeah.
It was ping ponging all over the place. Were we Presbyterian? Were we Baptist? It wasn't. It
Right.
wasn't. Based in really. I guess a theologically understood, but there was always this, just true deep belief in God. And prayer came really easily to me as a child. And I had visions, and I felt like I had angels. And so all of those parts of my early childhood were really awake and alive spiritually. So all along the path, each little step along the way, I have been a seeker, and seeking has opened me up to, I have a just basic blank acceptance and of all anything, whatever your understanding of God is, call it in
Right.
and use it. And,
Right.
I'm very invested in energy movement, living life on a higher frequency, working hard in a miracle mindset. Things like that are very much a part of clearing energy. How the body keeps the score, Bella Vanderkolk, of our traumas, and how to, work our energy out of that. So yeah, I spend my life these days in a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I like I said, I like to go deep, and I like to, this is very living level of life, Teresa. Your life is very living level of life, and it really is a tribute to what happens when we go through these things. I sometimes say these are the great initiations, right? And to be able to figure out how to maintain your balance and your dignity, I think sometimes as you go through it is a big deal.
It's really hard.
Yeah,
Really hard.
yeah. We're gonna take a little short station break, a short one. Yeah, just a
Okay.
short one. And when we come back, we will jump into the jewelry part and also want to get to about your husband and really messages for people listening.
Absolutely.
So much love. Love to you. Love to all the listening audience. Please don't go away when we get back. Yeah, we're just gonna keep talking. That's what we're gonna do. I don't know
I
what
love
you're doing. Make sure you get your fresh coffee and come right
And a
back.
Kleenex.
And a Kleenex, yes. We'll be right back.
Cool. All clear. Did you know that Reiki healing can be done at a distance? It's true. So let Reiki Oasis focus powerful energy to help relieve your stress, grief, sadness, anger, and so much more. Convenient, personalized treatments at a distance can increase lightness of being. During your appointment, find a quiet place to lie down or sit to receive healing energies. If you want help with your dis-ease, visit ReikiOasis.com. Harness life's energy. Visit ReikiOasis.com today.
Do you make a positive difference in the world? Do you have a talent, philosophy, base of knowledge, product, or service that you know could help a lot of people if only you could reach them? Join Alternative Talk 1150's family of broadcasters and start walking down a fruitful path. As host of your very own program, dial 425-653-1150 and find out just how affordable it can be to have a show on 1150 AM. That's 425-653-1150. Alternative Talk, we have an opportunity waiting just for you.
When you struggle with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, you get used to not feeling 100%. I thought that was how it had to be. Until I discovered the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. They told me about new medications that weren't around back when I was diagnosed. They helped me find a specialist who gave me a new treatment plan. I'm feeling better than I ever thought I could. Don't settle for not feeling your best. Take action today to take care of yourself. Spill your guts. Learn more at spillyourguts.org.
Conversation you won't find on the rest of the dial. Alternative Talk 1150.
Ready to come back? All right, stand by.
The original Loretta Brown Show. Benny Mathers is absolutely the best DJ of the universe ever,
Wow.
ever, any planet, anytime, anywhere.
That's huge coverage right there. I appreciate it. Wow. Entire universe. All right.
I know. And underneath this galactic alignment, your DNA is upgrading. Even as I talk, I can feel
Wow.
it. Thank you.
All right. Praise to the Capricorns. All right.
Woohoo! Capricorns rule. Anyway, you can find these shows, the original Loretta Brown Show. My guest today, right, is Theresa Bruno, and we're having a wonderful talk. You can find these archived shows at KKNW 1150 AM, archives for the original Loretta Brown Show. And of course, we're all over the place. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Megaphone, X. Oh, I know I'm leaving something out. Yeah. Anyway, you got the idea, and please go and find the show. We're talking about Theresa's amazing life and the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, how you keep going. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your jewelry business and what happened.
I'll try to make it short because it can be
Yes.
very long.
Yes. Yeah, because I
I
want
had
to.
a relatively large marketing firm, did most of my work in LA for film work. And on the weekends, I began hanging out in the jewelry district and just trying to figure out, I just wanted to create things for myself. I was very much in love with my grandmother's style and her jewelry and just motivated by it. Long story short, I did create some pieces. A friend dared me to take them to a place in New York that launches many of the great designers today. I did. Within a week, I was on the front page of the New York Times style section, Sunday style section, which was crazy. Mrs. Obama saw the article. She wanted to wear the jewelry to delay. I wasn't even incorporated at that point. And so I launched a jewelry business. It was just, very, it was like a fairy tale. And because she wore the jewelry and all the fashion bloggers wrote about it, I wasn't even a business yet. And I had like 60 stores calling me and wanting the jewelry. And I really knew nothing about jewelry. I didn't know anything about the business. I knew my crazy creative brain, and I knew how to create things that I thought were beautiful. But I didn't know about manufacturing, sourcing, inventory control, all of that. So I was thrust in it. And mind you, I had this huge marketing firm over here that I was president and creative director for. So over the course of about 10 to 15 years, I think it was, we really had such a beautiful brand. It was called Jordan Alexander. You can still look it up. And the press drove it. The press was so generous to me. I mean, within just a few years, I had kind of been on the cover of every major fashion mag, in the US, and then it went to Europe and, was in Saks, Neiman's, all the little boutiques. It was just an unbelievable ride. It really was unbelievable. I was traveling constantly for the jewelry business, on the weekends, home during the week, running the marketing business. And I had a very trusted employee, and I was very busy. And this was a spiritual teaching for me. And it was a hard one. An enormous fraud had been happening underneath my nose for 2 years, and I hadn't seen it. The teaching is, I wasn't present. I wasn't fully present. I take responsibility for that. I was running wide open, trying to run 2 businesses and trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was an enormous fraud. There were fraudulent credit cards. There were unpaid bills where QuickBooks had been tweaked so you didn't know it. Even my huge accounting firm hadn't figured it out. And I could either bankrupt or I could shutter the business and pay off all the debt, which is what I chose to do.
Oh my.
It was heartbreaking, but it was also a time that, for the first time, it was, I guess, the first time in my life I really felt like I failed. And I took on such shame. I was carrying, and I want to say to your audience, there's no good in shame. There's no agency in shame. It doesn't take you anywhere except into a dark place of isolation and guilt. So find ways to talk to people about your shame, because sharing it helps you get out of it.
Yeah.
But I was, as a woman, beating myself up that I didn't make my business work, that I had let down all the stores who had been so supportive, all the publicity I'd gotten. I had 2 investors, I had let them down. I was just beating myself up about it. I learned later, because a number of wonderful friends and business mentors took me aside after the fact and said, they each showed me where they had either big dips or failures, and how common fraud is with trusted employees, sadly.
Yes. Wow.
So I had a high, and I had my biggest low of my life in the jewelry business.
My heart really goes out to you, because you're creative and you're a very right-brained person. I am very much right-brained too. I'm like, that's why I have accountants, because I'm like, if numbers are in the room, I am a deer in the headlights. There's numbers in the room. What do we do with those, right?
Yeah.
And but my heart really goes out to you. I also I love what you said, sharing shame. Right, sharing shame.
I think it's one
Actually,
of the hardest things to get out of.
yeah,
the shame.
yes.
And
Yeah, because
we
we wanna hide it because 'cause we're ashamed.
absolutely. And our culture especially for women, our culture reinforces and reinforces and reinforces shame. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not thin enough. I don't work out enough. I don't eat the right foods. I don't have the best house. Oh, I can't do it's all of that. And then there are things in life, as what happened to me next, that make all of the definitions of success meaningless.
Yeah.
I had shuttered the jewelry business in, it was in February and March of 2020. It was all coming down. My
Oh,
marketing business was doing great, no debt on it. It was shining great. COVID happened March. I believe we announced COVID March 11th of 2020. And exactly a month later, my husband, my only husband of 29 years, my best friend, took his life.
oh, goodness. Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
life has never been, the
You're
grass.
talking February to March, April.
Yeah. I lost the business and my husband within 60 days.
I was gonna say, my goodness, you were thrown into the dark night of the soul.
And I
Thrown
bring
into
up the
it.
shame because I had felt it so intensely and shared it so much with him in the 60 days before he died. And so when he committed suicide, and I think suicide survivors, and I want your audience to hear this, we immediately, it's the what ifs. What if I had known how depressed he was? What if I could have been there that morning? What if we had gone to the lake and I hadn't left him alone? You ask the what ifs and you take on all the shame
Yeah.
of I'm somehow responsible. You are not responsible, and suicide seldom happens from an incident or a moment or a short amount of time. Suicide usually has been building for a very long time. I learned this through a lot of therapy, but we do take on that shame in suicide as well, and it is crippling. And I just encourage, one of the things I talk a lot about is the power of communication, the power of connection to people we trust, not just splattering it to the world, but if you have a handful of friends, if you have family members you trust, if you can just share your pain, just share it, because it will get you out of your isolation. And when you share your pain and you share your shame, they're carrying it. They begin to carry it with you and for you. It lightens it. So I just implore people not to sit in isolation in tragedy and in things where they feel like they're responsible for loss or betrayal. All the bad stuff that happens to us in life, don't sit alone in it. Try so hard, even if it's just a text a day to a friend, anything that gets you outside of your isolation.
Wow. So my goodness, honey, I gotta say this back to you. You were in grief and
Mhm,
shame and shock
mhm,
and betrayal, and
mhm.
we're going into COVID. We're going
Yeah,
into lockdowns.
we were in it 100%
Uh,
in 30
uh,
days. Yeah.
how are you even still alive? I mean it, because we were all kind of forced into isolation. Even now, I'm having trouble bringing people back out. Like, come
Right.
back, come back.
That
What
was an
did you do?
interesting.
What supported you? What kept you
Yeah.
going?
Well, and let me say also to your listeners, I did everything wrong. I
Okay.
did
Okay.
everything wrong in the first year and a half of my survival journey. When I'm telling you to get outside of yourself, to make a text, make a phone call, take a walk, anything you can to connect, I say it because I suffered so badly for
Yeah.
the first at least year, because I sat on the sofa blaming myself, trying to figure out a survival journey. But I did the first year in isolation, and it's just not the way to go. The thing about it was everybody was isolating,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I mean, not to be gruesome, but, you know, we couldn't even have much of a funeral. Here's this man who was so beloved by community and his fraternity brothers and huge Italian family, and we could have 10 people in the church.
Oh,
It
oh
so
goodness.
sitting in
Yeah.
isolation
Mhm.
was compounded by COVID because, if James had taken his life in any other time, my house would have been full of people. Nobody came over, you know, because we didn't. We were all terrified about what was happening to us as a civilization. We didn't know where COVID was going to go or when it would end. So it was definitely compounding though, I will say, Loretta, it harkens back to the question you asked earlier. Are you a spiritual person? Do you believe in God? Do you have a practice? Absolutely, 100%. That's what got me through. And it was, yes, it was the darkest thing I've ever been through. But I prayed, I journaled, I cried, I begged for help. I read everything I could get my hands on. I started trying to figure out, what is gratitude in the midst of this just bow-breaking sorrow? What does that look like? And it's not, all gratitude is good gratitude, but gratitude that is born of pain and suffering is not, the sunshine on the cup of coffee in the morning and write down 3 things and your life changes. It's not that. And interestingly, I also would say, in the 5 years since James died, and I've been so humbled and honored to walk alongside others in their grief. Everybody has something in common in great grief, and that is we harness something. A lot of people harness their pain and it becomes anger, and that's their agency, to get out of it. I had a really crazy journey that happened, and I harnessed my pain into gratitude, but it wasn't sweet. My gratitude became an act of defiance. It was like, grief will not kill me. I'll be damned. I'm going to be grateful for this day. It was like, yes, I will open up the windows and I'll see the morning and I'll see something good. Grief will not kill me and keep me down. So my gratitude was born of defiance, which is antithetical to the idea of gratitude.
Yeah, I'm your feisty self, right?
Well, you have
That
to have something.
Yeah, that part
Otherwise,
of you that wanted to play those pieces that the boys played.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Wow. What a journey. I gotta ask you this, like, how long were you just flat on your back? Honestly, because
Two and a
that
half
took you
2.5
down.
years and flat on
Yeah,
my back. I was still running a business, and that business
yeah.
became, you have to take this huge marketing business and everything is via Zoom. That was a blessing because I had to show up for my employees. I had to pay their salaries. I had to be there for clients and meet deadlines. So that was a blessing. I had to get up. I had 2 amazing boys, one, both in their early 20s at the time. And it's interesting what spirit implants in you and how spirit whispers to you.
Yeah.
I found James, which was also another awful, imprinting tragedy that I had to
Oh,
work through
goodness.
spiritually. But in the moments, it wasn't moments, I had to sit for 5 hours outside of his office waiting on the coroner and the police, until I could have his body released. But such a spiritual thing happened for me in those 5 hours. I knew that whatever I did next, whoever I called first, whatever words I used, if I howled and screamed, or if I could keep myself together, every single thing I did would be remembered forever in a huge way by my boys. And so it was so important to me that they were told at the same time, that I got them in the same place at the same time, which was hard because one was in one city and one in another. It was so important to me that I gave them hope. So even if I was sobbing my eyes out in my bedroom with the door closed, I was going to get up in the morning and put on my makeup and make my coffee and show them that we could go on. My drive was not for me. It was
Yeah.
really for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Thank goodness for that. Yeah, this is a journey. Um,
Yeah.
when you I'm gonna ask this.
Okay.
Do you sense James around? Does he
Oh, yeah.
visit?
Absolutely. And I talk to him all the time. I
Thank
can feel
you.
his spirit. I call him in. This morning, I have a son who's going through something today. And I said, James, you and all of my spirit guides and all the angels got to get with this guy right now because he needs you. Come on. And stop drinking your coffee up in heaven and get over here and help me. But I do feel his spirit all the time, and I do feel like in the universe he is there helping us. I do feel like he's had a journey, a spiritual journey, and that he didn't realize what he did, how it was going to cause so much pain and suffering for me and the boys. Um, and I think his journey has been to try to right some of that for us. But I'm in touch with him every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I
that was another thing I learned in grief, that I had to go on without him. I had to start going on without him, but it didn't mean the love didn't still exist. The love didn't go away with death.
That's a powerful statement. I think it's important for people to know. I work a lot with people who are afraid to let go of the grief at any level because they think they're letting go of the person, or they have this idea that they cannot laugh, they cannot be happy, they cannot do that, that there's, some sort of that they're always supposed to be grieving,
Right.
right?
I
Yeah.
see grief as not, people always will ask me, when will it end? When will it end? Just like you said, how long were you flat on your back? Grief doesn't end. For me, what you learn to do is you learn to walk alongside it. You learn to eat with it, and you sleep with it, and you go to bed with it, and you bathe with it. That's grief. But what I've also learned is it's 2 cups for me. Think about being on a tightrope and you're holding 2 cups. And this cup of grief is always going to be in one hand.
Yeah.
And then you choose what's going to balance it. And so for me, gratitude was the first balancing act. A defiant gratitude, balanced
Yeah.
against the grief. And then learning, as you said, to the grief's there, but then the gratitude softens, and there you begin to tell the stories, and you have laughter, and then courage starts to overtake the fear that grief embedded in you. So then it's gratitude and courage, so it grows, but grief doesn't really end. It
Yeah.
softens. You learn to live with it. But I would not be honest if I said grief ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a big conversation. You and I were talking during the break that, in my opinion, death is a taboo subject or an awkward subject. And I shared with you another person that I interviewed who had made mention of the fact that widow might as well have been written across her forehead. And
100%.
yeah, and people don't know what to do with it, and they'll say things like, "Are you okay? Are you," like, "Can I do
No,
something, like bring you a
I'm not okay.
casserole?"
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
like, "No, I'm not okay, and a casserole is not gonna fix it," right? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely came to understand that, in our culture, especially, I think Eastern cultures do such a better job with this than we do. We don't have a language for death and grief. And we don't give, our corporate culture is one that says, oh, you're back in 2 weeks, no matter who you lost, and you better be performing. So when you come back, you better be okay. Right. Well, 2 weeks, you can't even get out of the bed at 2 weeks.
Mm-mm.
And we have no conversation for
Yeah.
it. We know we don't have a way to sit alongside people and just honor the grief without needing to fix it. And certainly from a work perspective, the way we push ourselves
Yeah. Yeah.
as we're grieving is horrible.
Yeah, I think I, talked to someone a few years back whose son died, and they gave her 3 days off.
Right.
Yeah, it's that sort of horrible thing. What advice can you give to, or what suggestions to people who may be, we're going into the Christmas holidays, the holiday season where grief is often amplified because the loved ones are not there for the traditions or the celebrations, or you really, really miss them. And
Oh,
this is also a time of year where suicides increase.
they do.
So could you talk to that for just a minute or so?
Well, first of all, I think some of it's about expectation. And this, even if you're not grieving, we have all these elevated expectations about what the holidays should be, this perfection and the happy, Walt Whitman thing around the table, it that's just a false narrative. That just doesn't exist in the real world. So manage your expectations of what you think Christmas and the holidays should be. and maybe change it up. For me, I've had to do everything differently. I've had to create different grooves. You know, I couldn't use the same ornaments on the tree.
Yes. Yeah.
I couldn't do the same Christmas dinner. You know, I had to, like, I think the first year we got barbecue, you know, which is something I would have thought was just horrible, you know, a year before. But I've had to create different grooves so it wasn't so memory laden. Doesn't mean I didn't honor him or miss him terribly, but sometimes it's you do the thing that distracts you in grief, so you're not just in the muck
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And so for me, the first holiday, yes, it is hard as hell, and I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It's messy, it's raw, it's hard. Honor it. Know it's right there with you. Do anything you can to distract yourself in any way. Have a friend over, go to the movies, do things differently so you're not always hit in the face with the hardest of the memories.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm a big believer in get out of the house or go take a walk.
Get out in nature, get your feet on
Yep.
the ground.
Yep.
It heals you. Nature has this wonderful way of taking some of our pain.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. I talk to the trees all the time.
Me
They have
too.
names.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, they got names. They're like, "Hi, Loretta." I'm like, "Hi. Good morning."
Yes. In the first years after James, I would go to this one trail and I literally would just ask the stream and the trees to take what I couldn't bear.
Yeah.
And I would feel
Exactly
relief.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they do it. It's actually
Yeah.
real. So from this, talk about your podcast, the Soul Talks podcast. Yeah.
You know, I feel like since the moment James died, life has been pulling me to something new, and it's a much deeper spiritual journey. After, I think it was about 2.5 years after James died, I chose to close a very, very successful marketing business. And for the first time in my life, could go, what do I do with myself? You know, I've been
Yeah.
working forever.
Yeah.
Um, and I felt really drawn to make sense of, you know, what had happened to my hand, what had happened to the jewelry business, but more than anything, my survival journey coming through James' suicide.
Wow.
And I wanted to make a space. I just wanted to create a space for people to share their suffering. And so I started the Soul Talks podcast last February, on February 14th, in honor of James. And so we've released an episode every single Wednesday since then. And it's going well. So we're, you know, coming up on our second season. It has been nothing but a blessing for me.
Wow.
I mean, because in hearing other people's survival stories, it heals me as it heals
Yep.
them.
Yep.
It's been a phenomenally beautiful healing journey. And I hope it has been for my listeners as well.
Yeah. I was thinking about something you said earlier about sharing shame, but one thing I'm going to say is that when we share our grief, we share our burdens, we share our concerns, everybody helps us carry them.
That's
And
exactly the truth.
it's easier. And I've also learned through years and years that when I share something, even if my knees are knocking and I can hardly get the sound out, that there's somebody that needs to hear it. They're also going through it, and this is how we love each other.
The power of the connection. We're made to connect, to carry each other.
Yes, we are. So we're down to like the last 30 seconds or some crazy thing. Theresa, I just want to cry. It's just lovely to talk to you. Where can people find you? And 5 last words.
Yes. The soultalks.podcast. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can watch it on YouTube. It's filmed as a show. The Soul Talks with Theresa.com is the website you can go to. Facebook, TikTok, you name it, it all rolls into all those social spaces. Last words, gosh, I would just say to your audience, you don't know me and I don't know you, but I am sending you with my energy so much love because it really matters.
Yeah.
My heart to your heart, I'm sending you love in this holiday season. I'm holding you up.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. This is Loretta Brown and my guest today, Theresa Bruno. You've got to check it out. And also, from my heart to yours, to everybody, have a joyful holiday season. Laugh, love, eat too much food. And yes. And Betty Mathers, you are the best Capricorn ever. Happy holidays.